we now come to this chart here that talks about the dollar index. As you can see in this chart, the dollar index has seen a fair bit of a drop in the last couple of months or more, largely on rate cut expectations from the Federal Reserve. You can see this mirrored in the Asian dollar index, the ADXY. So note here that the ADXY is inverted in this chart, which means a drop in this light blue line means that the ADXY index is increasing. This ADXY index improving indicates that Asian currencies are strengthening, taking cue from weakness in the dollar. Now the question then is, why is the dollar falling? Here are two charts that tell you structurally why the dollar goes up and why the dollar comes down. The dollar index goes up and comes down. Every country has deficits and surpluses. And if you look at two areas of deficits and surpluses, you have the government balance or the fiscal deficit or fiscal surplus, and the second is the current account deficit or current account surplus. Like India, India is a twin deficit country. We have current account deficits and fiscal deficits. The US and UK, which are developed economies, are also twin deficit countries, but people don't call them that way because they have a reserve currency as a backing. So the US is a twin deficit country. The relationship with the dollar and twin deficits is whenever you see the fiscal deficit in the US increasing, a rising fiscal deficit, you generally tend to see weakness in the dollar. And when you have a phase where both the fiscal deficit and the current account deficit in the United States as a percentage of GDP are worsening, you tend to really see weakness in the dollar. Therefore, improving fiscal deficits and current account deficits, improving twin deficits lead to strengthening of the dollar index, and worsening of the twin deficits lead to worsening of the dollar index. This is a very broad structural relationship between the dollar index and twin deficits. Now, if you come to more a medium-term index, what we really see is that real Federal Reserve's policy rate. So when you say a real policy rate, it means the Federal Reserve's policy rate minus inflation. Whenever you see real policy rates of the Federal Reserve's rising, you see the dollar index going up. Whenever you see weakening or drop in the real policy rate of the Federal Reserve, you see a drop in the dollar index. As of now, and the dollar index is closer to 101, and even if you do price in 100 to 150 basis points of rate cuts from here to end of 2025, and nearly a 40-50 basis points drop in inflation going forward by till December 2025, it sort of gives you an indication that the dollar index is unlikely to see any sharp drop from its current levels.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.